Let's do this. Oh, okay. Oh, yes. Hi, guys. Welcome to this video. So, indeed, in this video, we are going to look at another important course in ICT, which is defensive security. So, we're going to look at defensive security in this video. We'll start by looking at Unit 1 and what is involved. Yes, so let us proceed by looking at what is involved. And remember, just like university, we are there to deliver quality education for all, because we believe that when people are educated, they are able to think better and apply innovation into the way of doing things. So we proceed in this video by looking at defensive security under the Department of ICT. Okay, so there, defensive security. So we proceed by looking at Unit 1 and what is really involved in defensive security. So Unit 1 focuses on understanding the foundation of defensive security. So it focuses on understanding the foundation of defensive security. So under understanding defensive security, which is Unit 1, here we are putting into our minds that defensive security, like I said, is one of the fundamental courses in information and communication technology and in computer science. So understanding the foundation of defensive security is crucial for safeguarding computer system. So in order to safeguard the computer system, it is very much important that the learners and you, the students, should be able to understand the defensive security. Very important, because the computer system is made up of many components. So in order to understand the components of the computer system, it is very much important that you understand defensive security. And then also on the aspect of data against threats. So we are saying that understanding the foundation of defensive security is crucial for safeguarding computer system, network, and data against the cyber threats. So in order for you to understand computer networks, it is also very much important that you should be able to understand defensive security. Okay, the interconnection of system or people brings the aspect of networking. The interconnection of computers brings the aspect of networking, and also what is involved in networking. You talk of the layers that are involved in networking. So in order to understand networking, the layers and everything that are involved in networking, it is very much important that you understand defensive security. Very important. And also data against the cyber threats. And then the other point is that defensive security involves implementing measures to prevent, detect. So defensive security involves implementing measures to prevent, detect, and respond to security incidents. So here, defensive security involves measures to prevent. So when it comes to defensive security, it means that there should be measures that prevent any security threats. That's what it means. So any implementation that can prevent security threats brings the aspect of defensive security. And then apart from that, there are also other many important risks that you are supposed to learn. So let's look at the foundations. So we continue by looking at the foundation of defensive security. So the first foundation of defensive security that we shall talk about is risk assessment. So we're going to look at the risk assessment. So under risk assessment here, it focuses on identifying assets. So here it focuses on identifying assets, which means that determining the critical components, data, and system within the organization. So here it is very much important that you determine the critical components like data and the system within the organization. So you should be able to identify or determine the system organization within the company, within the organization, within the institution. Very important. So all these falls under risk assessment. Another point on risk assessment is threat analysis. So threat analysis. So evaluate potential threats and vulnerability that could exploit the weakness. So it is very much important that you evaluate. So to evaluate is to find the solution. So to evaluate is to find the solution. So you should be able to find the solution within the organization. You should be able to find the solution. So before the incident can occur, before a threat can occur, you should be able to find the solution of any threats before it can occur. So you should be able to analyze the threats. So meaning evaluate potential threats and vulnerability that could exploit the weakness. Okay, so very important. And then another point on the risk assessment is the impact analysis. So the impact analysis. So when you talk of the impact analysis, here we are saying that it is very much important that you assess the potential consequences of security incidents on business operations. It is very much important on impact analysis that you assess the potential consequence of security incident on business operations. Very important to analyze the impact, okay, before anything can happen. Another point on risk assessment is risk mitigation. So risk mitigation, so to mitigate is to find a measure that can be put in place in case there is any issue that might happen or affect your computer system. So you already have a backup plan, a mitigation plan. So risk mitigation. So risk mitigation focuses on develop strategies to reduce or eliminate identified risks. So you should be able to identify the strategies. Okay, so there should be strategies in advance before before anything can happen. So if anything was to happen, there should be another mitigation that can help the computer system to find a way out. Okay, so this is just part of risk assessment, where we have talked about the identifying assets, and then we have also talked about threat analysis. We have also talked about impact analysis and risk management or risk mitigation. And then let us proceed by looking at security policies. So we proceed by looking at security policies. So under security policies, where we shall look at different points. So under security policies, first point we are emphasizing on establish clear and comprehensive security policies that defines acceptable behavior and security measure. So you establish clear and comprehensive security policies. It is very much important that you put up good security policies that can actually help out. So the security policies can also be maybe policies of maybe orienting the people about the importance of protecting the computer system, orienting people about the importance of authentication, identification, and authorization. So all such policies can actually help the computer system to run smoothly. So here on the security policies, we are saying that it is very much important to establish clear and comprehensive security policies that defines acceptable behavior and security measures. Very important. You put up even workshops where people are able to learn about the importance of security policies. Very important. And then the other point is that under security policies, you may include policies for data handling, password management, access control, and incident response. So you put up policies for data handling. It is very much important that you put up security measures, for example, on how to handle the data, workshop on how to handle the data, and also on the authentication, like I said earlier on. So on the authentication, it brings the aspect of password. You also put up policies where you orient people on the importance of putting passwords so that you can protect your computer system. It is very much important. Also, the identification, maybe logging into the system by using of identification, it is very much important. And then the other point is that in regard to the second point, you also put up the access control, like on the importance of access control and also incident response. Okay, so also putting incident response, maybe like automation response, maybe in a case of fire, there should be maybe fire suppression in place. In a case of there is an emergency, there should be remedies that has to be put in place in order to provide solution to any incident response without any difficulties. So that falls under security policies, very much important. And then the other point is the regularly review and update policies to address evolving threats and technology changes. So it is also very much important that you regularly, so you frequently check and review the update policies. So it is very much important that you regularly, in most frequent times, you check your review system, you check your computer system every time to avoid any incidents that can affect your system. Okay, so that is just part of the security policy. Now, let us proceed by looking at the access control. So we proceed by looking at the access control. So on the access control, point one, on the access control point one here, we are saying that implement the principle of at least of least privilege to ensure users have the minimum necessary access for the law. So implement principle of at least privilege to ensure users have the minimum necessary access for the law. So meaning there should be access points where the users should have the minimum access for the laws, and that's how it's supposed to work. So there should be access point where the user should be able to access the system. And then the other point is use strong authentication mechanism, including multiple factor authentication. Now, when you look at, remember, we are still looking at the access control. So here we are saying that use strong authentication mechanism. So now, if you emphasize on the point of using strong authentication, authentication comes with the aspect of password. So here we are emphasizing that it is very much important to use a strong password. It is very much important to use a strong password. And remember, a strong password includes using the uppercase and using a lowercase also using special characters and numbers. Okay, so it is very much important that you use strong authentication mechanism, meaning you use strong password that includes involving strong uppercase, lowercase, also strong special characters and numbers. Very important. And then the other point on access point is regularly review and update users' access rights to align with organization changes. It is very much important to review users' access rights to align with the organization changes. Very important. Now, apart from the access points, let us proceed by looking at network security. Let us proceed by looking at network security. So under network security here, we are saying that use firewall to control incoming and outgoing network traffic. So you use firewall to control incoming and outgoing network traffic. So what does this mean? Another name for a firewall is a gateway. It is very much important to put up a security measure that controls the incoming and the outgoing traffic. So because the firewall will be able to control depending on the IP address. So we're saying that the firewall will be able to control the incoming and the outgoing traffic by the use of the IP address. This is the reason why it is very much important to put up a firewall, because a firewall will actually act as a security personnel within the networking. Okay, hence it cannot allow any unauthorized access into the network. Very important. And then the other point on the network security is implementing the intrusion detection and preventing system to identify and respond to potential threats. By putting up intrusion detection system and by putting up intrusion prevention system, these two intrusion detection system and intrusion prevention system, they help to detect if there is any threats. So if there is any threats that is coming to your networking, they will be able to detect. Hence, the system will run effectively without any challenges. So putting up intrusion detection system and intrusion prevention system, they will help to detect any threats that is coming, hence enabling the system working effectively. It is very much important to consider the use of the ITS and IPS, which is very much important. And then the other point is employing the virtual private network, which is VPN, for secure remote access. So for secure remote access, you employ the VPN, which is the virtual private network. In case of any network problem, the VPN can be used to access another aspect of the computer system. Very important. And then the other point is the endpoint security. So on the aspect of the endpoint security here, we are actually emphasizing on installing and update antivirus software on all endpoints. So it is very much important to install and update the antivirus software, because the antivirus software will be able to protect the system against any viruses that may want to attack the system. So in case of any viruses that may want to attack the system, these antivirus software protects the system. For example, most of these systems are being attacked by the antiviruses. So it could be the Trojan viruses, because the Trojan viruses are very crucial kind of viruses that can attract or that can attack the system, and hence the system can be affected badly. So in order to protect the system from these Trojan viruses, it is very much important that you install and update the antivirus software that will protect the system against any threats. Very important. So we are looking at the endpoint security, where we are saying that it is very much important to consider the installation and updating the antivirus software on all endpoints. Very important. The other point is the point of utilizing endpoint detection and response solution for real-time threats monitoring. Very important. And then there is also an aspect of implementing devices encryption to protect data on laptops and mobile devices. So there is also an aspect of implementing device encryptions to protect data on laptops and mobile devices. Now, when you talk of the aspect of implementing device encryption, first and foremost, you also need to understand the aspect of encryption. So when you talk of the encryption, this is the process of converting data. So the process of converting data into into unreadable ciphertext is what we call encryption. So the process of converting data into unreadable ciphertext is what we call encryption. Now, in order to decrypt the data, there should be an appropriate key that has to be placed. In order to decrypt the data, there should be an appropriate key that has to be placed. Now, when you look at this point on the endpoint, we are saying implement device encryption to protect data on laptops and mobile devices. So here, you implement implement devices. Let's say, for instance, I want to protect the data on my computer. I want to protect the data on my computer. Maybe the data is too confidential. I can install a software, an open source software, such as EncryptPad. So EncryptPad is an open source software that can help me to encrypt the data within my computer. So it will convert the data into ciphertext. So that ciphertext is something that cannot be read by a human readable. It is something that cannot be read by human readable. So the EncryptPad, which is an open source software, will convert the human readable language into a ciphertext. So in order to open that ciphertext, there should be an appropriate key that has to be entered. Okay, so that's how it works. So in order to protect your data within your computer, it has to be encrypted. So you can put up devices encryption, such as EncryptPad, which is an open source software that can be used. Okay. Now, when you encrypt your data, it is when you encrypt, it's either you are using asymmetric encryption or symmetric encryption. But in a case of putting a password, in a case of encrypting your data within your computer, it means that you are using a private password, which is asymmetric encryption. Okay, very important. Let us proceed by looking at another factor, which is security awareness training, which is security awareness training. So on the aspect of security awareness training, here we are emphasizing that educate employees about security-based practices, the importance of following security policies. So here on the security awareness, it is very much important to educate the employees on the security measures and the importance of following the security policies within the organization, within the company, and within the institution. Very important. The other point is conduct regular training sessions to keep employees informed about major threats. It is very much important to actually educate the employees about security measures Like I was saying, in a case of fire, there should be fire suppression. So the employee should be able to know the use of fire suppression. The employee should be able to know on how to protect and prevent the computer system against any threats. The employees should be educated in those lines. Very important. That is security awareness training. And then there's also a point of stimulate phishing attacks to assess and improve employees' reliance. It is very much important to detect and able to see any suspicious threats that might attack the system. And then the other point is incident response plan. Incident response plans. So here it focuses on developing a comprehensive incident response plans outlining steps to take in case of security incident. So in case of security incident, there should be steps to follow. So there should be proper guidelines that should be put in place that employees should be able to follow to. So, okay, this step one says this is what you're supposed to do, and so on and so forth. It is very much important. And then there is also an aspect of defining a role and responsibility for incident response team members. It's also able to work in teams, very important. And then there's also an aspect regular tests and updates the incident response plans based on lessons learned from the simulations. Okay, apart from that, we also have the aspect of security monitoring, which is very much important. Security monitoring is very much important. Here, you deploy security information and invest management system to monitor and analyze security events. You know, putting up system to monitor and analyze security events is very much important. And then the other point is implementing log management to retrain and review. Okay, very important. Establish baseline for normal network and system behavior to identify deviations. So in order to identify deviation, there should be a policy that should be able to put in place. There should be a baseline that should be able to put in place in order to ensure security monitoring. Okay, apart from that, we have the aspect of patch management. And when you talk of patch management, here we emphasize on regularly updates and patch operating system, software and firmware to address vulnerability. So update and patch operating system. So here is an aspect of patch operating system, which is very much important in ensuring the proper operation of the software and putting up the firmware in order to protect the system through addresses. Very important. And then there's also an aspect of test patch in controlled environment before deploying to production. So test patch is also very much important before the system can be deployed for production. It is very much important that the testing is conducted. And then the other point is the point of physical security. So under the aspect of physical security, it can be personnel security, so control physical access to data center and servers. So here can be a form of putting up somebody that is able to mark and defend, protect the data physically. That's what it means, putting up securities on the server rooms and also those sensible places. And then there's also an aspect of implementing surveillance system to monitor sensitive areas. So you can put up cameras to protect the system and sensitive places from unauthorized access. And then there's also a point of secure laptops and mobile devices to prevent unauthorized access. So secure laptops and mobile devices to provide. So secure laptops, you know, can be maybe locking up the server room, and then this also can be a point of maybe using the barcode and so on and so forth. And then there's also an aspect of data backup and recovery where you back up the system so that you are able to recover important and sensible documents within your computer system, and so on and so forth. And then there's also an aspect of vendor security. Evaluate and monitor the security practices of third-party vendors, ensure that vendors adhere to the security standards and compliance requirements, and so on. And then the other point is compliance auditing, continuous improvement, and encourage collaboration and information sharing within the security framework. So the point is that by understanding and implementing these foundation principles, organization can frequently or can significantly enhance their defensive security posture and better protect the system against evolving cyber threats. Regularly review updates and adaptability to new challenges are essential components of a robust defensive strategies. So again, we're saying that by understanding and improving, by understanding and implementing foundation principles, organization and significantly enhance the defensive security posture, better protect against evolving cyber threats, regularly review, update, and adaptability. So here we're saying that it is very much important to regularly review the system. Regularly review the system, update the system to protect the system against any threats. This is very much important on defensive security. Very important on defensive security. I wish you have enjoyed the video, and make sure that where you have any issue, any comment, please, you are free to drop on the comment section and ask questions where you are not clear. So we have just talked about Unit 1 of defensive security and so on and so forth. So I wish you all the best, guys, and thank you for your time. Enjoy.